Call the Ellis County, Kansas Public Building Commission meeting to order. Donna, please note, all three board members are present. Any changes to the agenda, ladies?
I don't.
No?
I don't have any.
Approval prior minutes, April 16th.
We're okay.
Stand approved as presented. No accounts payable this evening. So we'll go into our project manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Project Manager Philip Smith-Haynes. Not a lot to report yet, unfortunately. The contractor does have some equipment that is being stored on site at 601, and they have submitted their first pay app to the architect. Did not get that in time to have it for your accounts payable tonight, but you may see it next week. We are also scheduled to have our delayed project meeting this Friday, so I'm hoping that next Monday I will have a more robust report. We have asked for a written schedule. So that is all I have this evening.
Are we still doing the ribbon cutting Thursday?
Yes, but of course that's not for the Public Building Commission. That's for the
Sorry.
County Commission.
You're out of order.
I'm not. Please accept my apology. I believe there's no executive sessions. We'll just go ahead and adjourn now.
The quicker you get out of that, the
Okay,
better, right?
We'll adjourn at 5:02, Donna. Please note that. Ready again? We'll go ahead and call the Ellis County Commission meeting order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Donna, please note that my fellow commissioners are still present. Any changes to the order of business this evening?
I believe so.
There is 2 executive sessions, I believe. The prior minutes, April 9th and April the 16th, ladies. Phil had some changes to that. All are good?
I think so.
And approved as presented. Consent agenda items A through G. I'd ask for a motion to approve that.
I move we approve the consent agenda, items A through G, as presented.
We have
I
a
will
motion.
second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0, Donna. Issues from persons not on the order of business this evening. That'd have to be Tabitha. Nothing?
Tabitha, you're not going to come up?
Okay. Next, we'll do a follow-up for commissioner questions on March monthly reports. Health Services Director Carrie and Noxious Weed Director Gary House.
I forced all of you to come. Forced you to come with after having a nice weekend out in the sun, apparently.
Yeah, we spent some time at the lake.
Yeah.
And there were 4 of us that represented the county in the Hayes Chamber of Commerce golf tournament on Friday.
Excellent.
Not sure we represented us very well.
Hey, the point was that you were there and you
Yeah.
were participating.
And please don't quit your full-time job.
Yeah,
And the 12 people in the back, Carrie, if you could invite them to come forward and sit up front. This isn't church.
okay, all right. Carrie McHugh, Health Services Administrator. My understanding, I was asked to come before you tonight about a question for the last month's monthly report. And the particular question that came up were the number of leads. And that's an example of our ongoing effort to work with other entities in the community. We have a local business that is doing lead testing of their employees, and by the end of the year, there could be as many as 350 to 400 of these.
Wow.
Anytime an employee in that particular business is over a 5, those automatically go to the state, and then they come back through our offices to be followed up through the EpiTrack system. So we could have a number of those over the course of the next several months. So that may be a number that you see frequently.
Regularly, okay.
Now on.
Is there a way they can treat that?
There is. That's handled by the physician. We just need to follow up and make sure that
Okay.
A, the levels are right, B, they're seeking care, and those kinds of things.
Okay.
Probably won't be followed as a, that gets into that acute care medicine
Right.
thing that we're not trying to get into, or routine medical follow-up. So we'll leave that to them and their physician. We'll just make sure that we follow up with them and that they're seeking medical care. Now, that's not to say we won't provide them medical care if that is needed, but we'll refer them first to their family
Private.
physician.
Right.
All right.
I would tell you that another thing that we're doing today, we had a nurse, and the nurse practitioner spent all day in school districts in Victoria doing sports physicals and Can Be Healthy physicals. So I think they did about 70 of them today. And so they were a little exhausted when they got back.
I bet.
Also, I'm sure that Phil will mention, but I'll mention it for the press and the news media, that Thursday at 4 o'clock is our ribbon cutting at the new health department. So please, everybody come and see what a great facility we have. So, and if there's no other questions, I'll turn the mic over to someone else.
Okay, well, thanks for
Thank you.
coming and
Okay.
explaining it, because it really looked a
Well,
little
it's-
alarming.
It is an alarming number, and I caught it after the fact, when Phil mentioned it to me, and so.
Well, and the other question I think that I also posed that night is if it's lead paint in properties, how we as citizens can mitigate that problem.
You know, as time goes on, some of that reduces itself because there's not near the lead that was in the paints that we grew up with. But from what I've read and what I've been told about the lead numbers, it's not too unlikely that some of us walking off the street could come in with above a 5. So they monitor them, and the lead paints are going away, but still need to monitor them.
Okay.
And there's some signs
Just-
and symptoms that would go with that you'd seek care for.
Okay.
So, we do have some embedded in those. If you'll remember numbers from previous months, there's onesies and twosies. Those are sometimes frequently those. Or somebody that has been exposed to lead comes home, brings home clothes from their work environment. Their kids get it, laundry, whatever. So,
Huh, okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Good evening.
Evening, Gary.
I'm Gary Haas. I'm the County Weed Control Supervisor. I'm here also for, a follow-up from the commission report there a couple meetings ago. The legislation did pass the new noxious weed law. It's on the governor's desk to be signed, and all indications are he will sign it. Nothing real drastic. They did create a new 13-member advisory committee, which they'll review the noxious weed lists, the control methods, then that gets passed on to the Secretary of Agriculture, and the Secretary of Ag is who declares what weeds are a noxious weed for the whole state. A new one for the Secretary of Ag is they are authorized for emergency declarations if, a lot of it could come from a natural disaster, and something like that, but he's the one that can declare that. That would expire after 18 months, or if the Secretary declares it a noxious weed, then it would be on the list. The Commission has a new one where there are some they could have county option weeds. They could make a noxious weed list, but it has to be approved by the Secretary of Ag. So you can't just, decide dandelions or something you want on the list. And it's not
Less thistle.
Yeah, well, that's on there. That one I bet will be on there. Yeah. In the past, there always was two county option weeds, which was multiflora rose and bull thistle. Some counties had that but that was the only thing that the commission could declare.
How about yucca plants?
Yeah. What?
Yucca
Yucca.
plants?
No.
Really?
I mean, you can try, but that would be a rough one
'Cause
to
there's a
enforce.
ton of them in
and-
that south part of the county. There's just
Yeah, but you gotta,
thousands of them. Probably millions.
there's got to be a good treatment for them, and that, you know, because once it's on there, then it's against the law to have them, and so you got to watch what you put on the list, too, so.
Law of unintended consequences, watch out.
That's
Yes.
right.
But that 13-member committee, it's going to have a member from the National Resource Management, which is like Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks, 2 members from K-State College of Ag or K-State Extension, 1 county commissioner, and he'll be appointed by recommendation of KAC. So there you guys go. There'll be 2 weed supervisors, 3 members involved in production ag, with 1 has to be a certified organic farmer, and one agriculture retailer, 1 member that's a Kansas farmer that grows non-traditional crops, you know, not your wheat, grain, sorghum, corn, and, you know, probably one of the fruits or vegetables and that type of stuff. Their duties are to review the plan and, you know, create what weeds go on it. There is a new one for certification, like on any state lands, any alfalfa, grass, hay, a lot of the mulch that say they used along, you know, interstate and stuff like that, has to be certified weed-free. Well, that's new.
And who does that certification?
Me,
You
probably in the county.
certify that, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. There is a new deal that requiring us weed departments to be registered with Field Watch and Drift Watch. So far in Ellis County, I am registered on there. There's about 8 sites where, say, we have a couple of vineyards, we have some beehives, and they're registered that they have a sensitive crop or, you know, or insect. And now in the law, it has that we have to, you know, before we go out and spray adjacent lands or on private lands, we have to check Drift Watch or Field Watch. So, the cost share, for a while there, it was taken out, but it made it back into the bill, and it's pretty much the same. The only thing that's changed is they did put in a lot of verbiage for counties that operate out of a general fund like we do. So it's more set up for that now. It does show now, for years, it's had in there that the weed supervisor's salary was paid half by the state and half by the county. Well, they got rid of that now, and so now it's all,
All on us,
yeah, it's
yeah.
on you, yeah.
Here, I thought the state was taking that over.
I know, yeah.
We
Would've been
tried, didn't
nice.
we?
Yeah.
Violations have stayed the same. The fines are $100 a day with a $1,500 max for being out of compliance. And now for inspections, we are supposed to notify the landowner or the tenant and at least try to get a hold of them before we go and enter their property for inspections. And if there is a forced treatment that we would have to do, it used to be, it was 10% could be recovered after it got on their tax roll, you know, if they're not paying for us to do it. Now it's up to 25%, so it will only take 4 years to recover the cost of treatment
Okay.
being out of compliance. That's about it.
All right, I appreciate your coming and telling us, because I really was interested, so,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Update. Next, we'll talk about our computer outage on April 17th. Future plans, Mike Liker.
Good evening, I'm Mike Liker, the IT Director for Ellis County. As you mentioned, on April 17th, we had an outage, a network outage, that pretty much spread throughout all of the offices. Shortly after 8:30 on that morning, we discovered, our monitors started going off, that, you know, we had an outage. And after investigating it for a while, we discovered it was not our equipment, but not our internal equipment, but a fiber cut in Hayes. We found out later that a semi-truck had passed down an alley and caught an overhead cable and didn't realize it and kept going and ripped the bundle of cables. So it wasn't just us that was out, but you know, We did get, or Eagle was aware of it, and they did repairs on that fiber cut, and we had full network connectivity restored shortly after 4 o'clock that same day. We have fiber optic cable that is both strung overhead throughout the community as well as some buried. They both have their risk factors. Obviously, overhead can be torn down, usually by a heavy equipment, a large truck or a boom truck or something like that. Buried fiber also has its risks, usually a backhoe or a trenching, some trenching equipment. But unfortunately, because of the way our network was designed and modified several times over the years, and during all of the building projects that we had, some chinks in the armor, so to speak, had developed. And one of those chinks is, depending on where this fiber optic cut is in the community, it can, as we learned, bring down the whole network. Unfortunately, it was in just the right place where several fiber trunks converged. So I'm currently exploring options to correct this situation and avoid it in the future. So that I'm trying to look at options to build in redundant pathways for our wide area network and additional backups on the network. I don't have anything to report yet, but I have a couple of working plans, and as soon as I can get some dollar figures and things like that, I'll come back to you and report on what I found. So
Okay.
I think we can make our network a lot stronger by doing these things. There are things that I've wanted to do, but for one reason or another, we hadn't been able to do it yet. So I'll report back, hopefully within the next month or so.
Okay.
So, any
Thank you, Mike.
questions?
Yep, well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
County Council report, Mr. Jeter.
County Councilor Bill Jeter, I do not have a report tonight. Thank you.
County Administrator report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. County Administrator Philip Smith Haynes. Yes, as Mr. McHugh mentioned, and as was mentioned under the PBC earlier, this Thursday, May 10th at 4 p.m., we will be having a ribbon cutting for our new county health building at 2507 Canterbury Drive. The public is invited to join us at 4 p.m. For ribbon cutting, followed by tours. Excuse me. The health department is in their new facility and up and operational. And we have a sign on the building that is actually a reuse of a sign that we had when we were temporarily located our courthouse facilities out to the NEW building, so we were able to reuse that sign. Thanks to Dale Hickey from our public works staff who welded a frame for that sign to
Even
mount
better.
on the
Great.
side of the building, so we appreciate Mr. Hickey's assistance and again look forward to seeing all of the commissioners and members of the public this Thursday at 4 p.m. Second, I was able to attend the County Commissioners Association conference last week in Wichita. The commissioners were unable to go this year, but I will report that there was a good discussion, especially in the session where we broke out by population groups. That seems to always
Caught
go
on,
well.
yes.
Yeah. There was significant conversation, particularly about the relationship between commissioners and other elected officials. There were some presentations on immigration, on the demographic information that KAC releases on an annual basis, and then there was a very sobering presentation on cybersecurity and the risks associated with cyber incidents, as well as the insurance coverage that we have through K-Camp. So we were, after they scared you, then there's sort of good silver lining there. But
Good news came after that.
we talked about this at the executive team meeting last week, and this is something that our IT staff has been working on for some months now, and we'll continue to have a focus on that because it's a big issue. If you weren't concerned about it before that presentation, you definitely would be afterwards. So, and finally, speaking of conferences, the Commission is aware that the Kansas Association of Counties Conference, annual conference, will be this October in Overland Park, and actually falls on a Monday this year, so we moved a Commission meeting in October. Registration has now opened, and Clerk Maskus took care of getting hotel rooms, which we're thankful for. But I need to get you all registered, so unless you tell me otherwise, I will plan on registering all 3 of the commissioners. I assume we're all going. So that was all I had for this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions.
I don't.
County Commissioner reports. Marcy?
Since the last meeting, I attended a Fort Hays State University STEM tour with the Fort Hays Foundation. I also attended the High Plains Mental Health Monthly Meeting, and I did my monthly tour of the roads in my district.
And you attended the Northwest Kansas Highway officials meeting too?
Oh, that's right. I did go to Colby with them guys, and we had the KAC meeting at Colby. Forgot that.
Barb?
It was too long ago.
I just wanted to make note of our sign on our parking lot.
Yes.
I think it looks really good.
Does.
And so it's nice to have that up,
Stands out.
and again, thanks to Mr. Fricke for what he did for the health department. That's great.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Repurposing things are good.
Always good.
I only attended one meeting, and that was out at Colby. Well, Phil was there also, and Kurt and Bill, and
Carrie?
about everybody. Oh, yeah, Carrie was there. We had a pretty good turnout, actually, really good turnout from Ellis County. But we had the largest turnout by far than any other county. So thank you to all of those that took time to go. It was a very good meeting. A few of the legislators were there and talked for, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, I guess it was. Maybe it's a little longer than that. Seems like it went pretty quick. So, no, very good meeting, and thank you all for attending. Executive sessions will be next. We have 2 this evening, I believe.
I move that the commission recess into executive session for 10 minutes, along with Administrator Philip Smith Haynes and Counselor Bill Jeter, to discuss a matter of attorney-client relationship regarding pending litigation pursuant to KSA 75-4319 B2, with the executive session to begin at 5:25 p.m. and end at 5:35 p.m.
We have a
I'll
motion.
second that.
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
For the second session, I move Commissioner Dean Hazelhorst and Commissioner Marcy McClellan recess into executive session for 20 minutes, along with Administrator Philip Smith Haynes, County Attorney Tom Dries, and Attorney Kevin Case, who will appear by phone to discuss a matter of attorney-client relationship regarding pending litigation pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2, with the executive session to begin at 5:35 p.m. and at what?
6 o'clock? 20 minutes, you said, right?
5:55 p.m.
I will second that motion.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 2-0.
Okay.
All right, let's head upstairs.
Okay.
No action taken, and we'll adjourn at 5:56. Thank you all for coming.